to get your fix.
Are you ready? Are you ready to get your fix? Are you ready? Are you ready to get your fix? Are you ready? Are you ready to get your fix? Are you ready? Are you ready to get your fix? Are you ready? Are you ready to get your fix? Are you ready to get your fix?
With the Wicks here on this beautiful Tuesday, May 24th, 2022, and welcome to the show, whether that's on Facebook or on YouTube. If you're on Facebook, hit the like and the share. If you're on YouTube, hit the subscribe. It'd be much appreciated. So yesterday, we got some pretty good news, a couple things we had to dive into, but the NFL is officially alive, okay? We have a lot to get to today. I'm pumped for it because these past couple weeks have been pretty dead. Not a lot has been happening. OTAs started, rookie mini camps obviously were underway because the draft was only just a couple weeks ago. Actually, almost a month ago at this point. April 28th, I believe, was the start of the draft. And now rookies are trying to get acclimated to their new home or their new teams and all that stuff, learning the playbook, kind of learning, the chemistry, or building that chemistry within their new organization at this point. But a lot has been happening around the world of the National Football League. Today, especially, they had the second round of league meetings down in Atlanta, Georgia, and a lot has come out from those meetings, like a potential change to this year's, or going forward, the Pro Bowl. Okay, might be changing that. We'll dive into that briefly. And then also, where is the Combine going to be headed, right? I think that's a question that we've all been wondering, at least I've been wondering. But it might not be headed anywhere for at least the next couple seasons. We'll talk about that and more. We have the Washington Commanders situation that we're going to kind of dive into, because from what I'm seeing, Goodell doesn't want to answer any of those questions. Kind of fishy, in my opinion. But maybe, just maybe, he could be telling the truth. Doesn't seem like it looking from the outside in, but we'll dive into that. There's also other pieces of information that came out from his press conference that he had after these league meetings actually really took place. Doesn't seem like they got too many things done in there other than the two main points, which I noted earlier, the Combine and the Pro Bowl potentially being changed. Maybe not the Combine necessarily. There's a little tweak there in the Combine that we'll talk about in a brief or in a couple minutes and stuff like that. But before we get to all that stuff, because that's very important, we'll dive into it so you guys kind of understand what's going to happen and what the landscape of the National Football League is going to look like in the near future. So before that, we got the Nick Foles situation. We talked about him yesterday, signing with the Indianapolis Colts. He did this over the weekend. We were really unsure about the details of the contract. All we knew was a 2-year contract. The Bears still owed him some money or whatever the case may be. Wasn't really for sure on how much of the money they actually owed him. But today we'll give you those contract details to start it off. And then briefly we're going to talk about the Ravens signing former Bears All-Pro cornerback Kyle Fuller. The Ravens are loading up, folks. They're making a pretty good impression on what we've talked about in the past, where teams going all in, trying to get the right players at the right time to potentially climb the mountaintop and get to that Lombardi trophy. They're not the only ones in the AFC doing that, like the Miami Dolphins have been as well. And last but not least, Al Michaels, new play-by-play announcer for Amazon Prime for Thursday Night Football, will make an appearance this postseason, and we'll talk about that as well. And then we'll get to the league meeting stuff towards the end of the show. So with that being said, are you ready to get your fix? So yesterday we talked about Nick Foles going to the Indianapolis Colts to serve as Matt Ryan's backup there in Indianapolis. I said it was a good signing. I really liked it, but they need to find a wide receiver to bring into that building to pair with Michael Pittman Jr., mentioned Julio Jones. But now the details of the Nick Foles contract have officially been announced. Nick Foles is going to get a 2-year deal. Obviously, we talked about that yesterday, so you all know he got a 2-year deal. He has a base salary of $2.5 million for this season. He has a $3.5 million base salary for next season in 2023. He already has earned a fully guaranteed $4 million roster bonus from the Chicago Bears that he has been obviously owed, okay? So for this year, he takes home at least $6.5 million. Obviously, he can make money with the incentives if he throws so many passing yards, if he starts so many games, all that hoopla, okay? You get it. Incentives, it's basically like achievements, okay? You got the main mission, and you got the side missions, okay? The main missions get that Lombardi. The side missions are, hey, throw 1,000 yards, okay? Okay, that's all you need to do. Throw 10 touchdowns, okay? That's all we need to do. Make a fucking Pro Bowl. Those are the side missions that the incentives really are, okay, for all you gamers out there and experts and stuff like that. So, Nick Foles, 2-year deal, $2.5 million, can make at least up to $6.5 million because of a $4 million roster bonus from the Chicago Bears that he's fully guaranteed. Now, we'll see really what happens and how this season unfolds if Matt Ryan stays healthy or, we don't hope injury happens and then Nick Foles has to step in his place. I hope that doesn't happen. I think Matt Ryan's the perfect fit there for Indianapolis and for the Colts. But they need a wide receiver, right? They need a Julio Jones in there. They need an Odell Beckham Jr. in there to pair with Michael Pittman Jr. because they don't have a legit 1-2 punch at their wide receiver position. They just got Michael Pittman Jr., okay? From looking outside in, that is what I've seen and what I've noticed. I believe a lot of people have also noticed that as well. Get Indianapolis a legit wide receiver, and I think they'll be an even better playoff contender, maybe even a Super Bowl contender. So, moving forward, the Ravens. Ravens have been making a lot of moves this offseason, and they just added yet another big move to their secondary. They signed former Bears All-Pro corner Kyle Fuller. It's a 1-year deal. Unsure of the details of the contract. Really hasn't been said because the league meetings are kind of, overruling a bunch of these signings right now. But Kyle Fuller went into the season or this offseason as a free agent. He's been an all-pro there for the Chicago Bears. And it's a homecoming for him. He goes back to Baltimore where he was actually born and played high school football there. So the Ravens have been doing their due diligence and knowing that we need a good defense. We need to go back to that Ray Lewis, Ed Reed type defense where we were unstoppable, okay? We won a Super Bowl when we had that defense, okay? Lights might have went out, but, what are you going to do about it, okay? But we need to go back to those winning ways. Our offense is okay. We have to start clicking a little bit more on all cylinders, but Lamar Jackson's an absolute god, okay? He's a freak of nature. He can go out there and get it done on a moment's notice, basically. He could run back in the locker room, take a massive dump, run all the way back out, and then fucking lead his team to victory, okay? It can happen. But our defense, okay? Defense wins championships. That's what everybody has said. That's what everybody said since I've been just a wee old lad, down yonder, fucking probably a foot off of the ground. Hey, defense wins championships. That's why we're watching this, okay? We don't have a good defense, we ain't gonna win. We got a good defense, we got a chance, okay? So they knew this going into this offseason, and they've done nothing but build that defense up. The Ravens have added Marcus Williams, okay, safety from the New Orleans Saints this offseason. Massive upgrade, okay, young player, stud player, fucked up on the Minneapolis Miracle. Sorry about it, okay? Diggs scored that touchdown, threw his helmet because he knew it was an awesome moment. Then they go into the draft. They draft safety Kyle Hamilton out of Notre Dame. The number one safety coming into this draft. The most NFL ready at the secondary position probably other than Ahmad Sauce Gardner. Kyle Hamilton's an absolute stud. He's a young guy who's looking to have an illustrious career that's just beginning there down in Baltimore, and now they add Kyle Fuller to their secondary. And they're also going to be getting back, right, Marlon Humphrey, okay, and Marcus Peters, who both suffered injuries last season. This secondary is looking scary, folks. You have Marlon Humphrey, Marcus Peters, and Kyle Fuller as your corners. Then you got, Marcus Williams and Kyle Hamilton as your safeties. And if Kyle Hamilton turns out to be an absolute dog, okay, good luck throwing on these guys. It's going to be very, very tough. Forgot who their other safety was. Might be Lonnie Johnson Jr. or something like that. I think that's just coming off the top of my head. That's the last one I remember. But their defense is looking like they're ready to rock and they're ready to roll. Baltimore is looking to make a run, and they know that going all in, trying to get the pieces now rather than later, rather than wait 5-10 years to really build a, to build a dynasty. No, we want to do it now, okay? Just like the Rams said a year ago, fuck them picks, okay? We don't need those picks. Let's bring in all the guys that we need, okay? Let's get Matthew Stafford, OBJ, Von Miller. I mean, everybody. Put them on the list. We'll go grab them, okay? That's what we're going to do, and that's what Baltimore is doing, and they're learning that also not only from the Rams, but the Miami Dolphins, right? The Miami Dolphins went out. Taron Armstead, left tackle, who was a free agent, came from the Saints. Tyreek Hill, Chase Edmonds, Raheem Mostert, Sony Michel. The list literally goes on for them to get all these weapons to make that team that much better, to get that team to start maybe climbing up that mountaintop to get to that Lombardi trophy, because they have been thirsty since their undefeated season, right? It's been quite a while since they won a Super Bowl. Dan Marino couldn't even get it done, okay? He went to one, he lost it, never went back. Sorry, pal, okay? Sorry about it. But the Baltimore Ravens, they've been a good team for quite some time now, for at least the last 4 or 5 years maybe. And I think they're getting sick of the fact that they just can't get over that hump. Whether it's the first round of the playoffs, whether it's the last game of the season to make the playoffs, they're getting sick of that. They're saying, hey, we're going all in, and we're making a Super Bowl. And we're making a Super Bowl push, and we're doing it now. Super Bowls, or at least what some people have said, you win the Super Bowl in the offseason. And, in my opinion, couldn't be more truer, right? Because in the offseason, you have a chance to reevaluate not only who your players are, but who your front office staff is, your GM, your head coach, your coaches in general. And you can look at all your players, what your salary cap looks like. Go look at the scouting board, who you might potentially draft this season, and make the right selection. If you make the wrong selection, your season could go in the dumps. But Super Bowls are won in the offseason. Now they could be won basically in the middle of the season where there's a bunch of trades and stuff. But I think you set your team up for the most success during the offseason. That is where you're trying to rebuild it back up to, playoff level, Super Bowl level. That is where you make the good signings. That is where you make the huge splash signings. And that is where your team actually wins or loses ball games in the coming season. So good on Baltimore. Good for them at getting Kyle Fuller, All-Pro, or former All-Pro for the Chicago Bears. That is a huge sign in my opinion. And before we get to the league meetings, a nice little tidbit of information kind of reached my eyes here on Twitter this morning, or this evening, I should say, where @Field Yates reported that NBC has announced that legendary play-by-play man Al Michaels, who will be the voice of Thursday Night Football on Amazon, has been named to an emeritus role, I believe is how you say it, and will call a playoff game for the network this season. An emeritus role, I believe, is like how do you want to pronounce it, or how do you want to say it? I looked it up earlier, didn't know what the fuck it meant, okay? emeritus. It means basically having retired but allowed to retain their title as honor. Didn't really retire, okay? Just left NBC, left that network, went to Amazon Prime to be the new Thursday Night Football caller alongside Kirk Herbstreit. But he's calling a fucking playoff game, and I'm pumped for it because, hey, who knows what this all entails, right? Because Mike Tirico, who's now Chris Collinsworth's new partner for NBC, probably doesn't like this or probably doesn't give a shit, right? Because Al Michaels, Chris Collinsworth, such a legendary duo for so long, right? Because we got to see him through our entire childhood, basically, just go back and forth talking to each other about football. And it was just when you hear those two voices, Al Michaels, Chris Collinsworth, you know it's 7 o'clock at night. You know it's almost bedtime, but you also know you're in for an absolute showdown of giants on the football field. It was, I mean, it is just, it's just that nostalgia, right? We're not going to hear it the entire season. Then, bam, playoffs come, and we got Chris Collinsworth and Al fucking Michaels, most likely, calling a game, and it's going to bring back all those memories, and you're like, oh, man, I miss this. We need this back in the booth. We need this on Sundays, Mondays, Thursdays, whatever the case may be. We need this. This duo is legendary. I'm pumped for it. I think it's a good thing for Al Michaels because it's kind of like a, not really a reunion, but like, I guess, yeah, it's kind of like a reunion. Like, hey, we had such a great relationship together. But let's come back and celebrate all those good years that we've had together and then, send you off with a little see you later with a playoff game, okay? I mean, it's not going to be a Super Bowl game. Sorry. I mean, the Super Bowl game, it's just, that's Fox's role this year. So, Al Michaels, just know he's coming back for a playoff game this season. So now it's time to get to the league meetings that have been taking place down in Atlanta, Georgia. A lot of information is kind of coming out of these league meetings. Basically what they're doing is they're kind of discussing different things that are going to happen during the season, like AKA the scouting combine. Where is that going to be held? We finally found out the situation. Or like the Pro Bowl. What in the world are we doing with the Pro Bowl? Can we change this? How will we go about doing so? And then we got to look at the Washington Commanders situation. Is Dan Snyder really going to be out of the building? Is what's really going to happen with that? Okay, Deshaun Watson. What is this situation? What does the outcome of this situation really look like? How soon can we be ready for a final decision? And there's also more stuff that we'll dive into here ad nauseum, I guess, because there's a lot of stuff that we need to talk about surrounding the league meetings because Roger Goodell finally had his press conference. Some of the shit in there, I think he's blowing smoke. I think he's trying to hide some stuff. And maybe it's probably best that he hides the stuff, kind of keeps it between him and keeps behind closed doors between him and the rest of the owners and stuff like that. So I get it. It's a business. So let's start right off the bat with the NFL Scouting Combine. It's been held in Indianapolis for quite some time now. It's a pretty good location. The stadium's connected to a conference center. That conference center can be used for a whole bunch of stuff, like obviously, meetings with the NFL head coaches, owners, and stuff like that. You have the field. It's an indoor facility. That means weather ain't going to affect it, okay? We got hotels around the city. They got all this nice eatery or restaurants, basically, for them to go out and eat at and stuff. So it's a good little location for these new recruits, basically, if you want to say that, or prospects, draft prospects, to come and really soak in an NFL experience before they actually get into the NFL. And so the real question was, where is the scouting combine going to be held now? Because Indianapolis, actually, their contract ended. So we got to figure out what new contract or who is going to get the new contract. And ultimately, as Ian Rappaport had reported on on Twitter, the 2023 and 2024 NFL Scouting Combine will be staying in Indianapolis, source said. The issue is just discussed and presented at the league meeting. And I believe the issue really pertained around the whole medical evaluation process that they have prior to that or during that is just a whole different thing. But EVP, Executive Vice President of Events, Peter O'Reilly, made the presentation to owners, and there was no vote, okay? Not a single vote. Back to Indy, it is, reports Ian Rappaport. So basically, the Executive Vice President of the events, okay, that Peter O'Reilly dude, went up, gave him a whole spiel, probably a presentation, okay, a fucking nice PowerPoint. This is why we got to stay in Indy, okay? All the other locations, trash. We got shit on the grounds in LA, Buffalo. We got people, flying through tables like this. Okay, we can't have that. Let me go over here in Chicago. It's Chicago. And just keep flicking, doing that stuff. You give them a presentation. We need to stay in Indy. No vote was had. Everyone's like, all in favor? Every 32 owner? Aye. All right. Next dilemma. So they basically did that. So what's really kind of happened here, I believe, and I don't have it right here, was that there was some like little kind of ordeal surrounding the medical portion of it. And basically the medical portion of it, or like having these medical examinations to make sure they're ready to rock and roll, make sure that nothing's injured, and they can go about doing all these different events, or if they have to sit out an event or a certain event or whatever the case may be. That was a big little issue that they had to figure it out. I believe they got it figured out, and also being added to the scouting combine, which I think this is a good experience. I think this is an awesome idea. Get the fans more involved other than having the TV, media rights, which I believe that's what other teams were fighting for because of all the exposure that the city gets and how much it helps out their economy and like just all the money that Indianapolis can make from the media deals and all that social media stuff. So that's probably why they were doing it. But they added something, a special little cool thing I believe they do during Super Bowl week and stuff like that, or even during Pro Bowl week, where Indianapolis will add a combine fan experience outside prior to workouts. So whether that's running a 40-yard dash with probably Rich Eisen, or whether that's seeing how many reps of the bar you can get up, because they're probably not going to be putting 225 on there unless, fucking Bobby Lashley starts walking over and said, all right, put it on, okay? And then they start repping it out. But I guarantee it's something like that. Like you just have these type of drills. You quick run those wide receiver drills or do the out routes. You get it. It's probably what it is. It's a fan experience. Give you a chance to kind of experience what is actually happening for these athletes, for these draft prospects in or during the combine, basically. And I think it's a good addition. It's only going to add more money for the city. It's going to add the exposure for the city. It's a good thing. I'm pumped for it. And I think Indianapolis is as well. Moving forward, there's been a game every single fucking year that has been absolutely atrocious to watch, okay? They tried changing it up years ago where, it used to be the AFC versus the NFC. And then they kind of changed it where, hey, we're going to have team captains, and then those team captains are going to draft players from both sides, the AFC and the NFC, doesn't matter. We're going to mix them all up. We're going to give you fancy uniforms, and it's going to be Team Rice versus fucking Team Ray Lewis or something like Jerry Rice versus Ray Lewis, okay? We're going to have those two teams. You're going to go out there. So they tried spicing it up. Didn't quite work. Wasn't catching on. So then they go back to the AFC versus the NFC. And after watching last year's fucking Pro Bowl, I've had it. And I'm not the only one that's had it. I think everybody around the world that watches the NFL or watches football in general knows that the Pro Bowl is garbage. Absolute garbage. Nobody wants to tackle. Nobody wants to get hurt. You have that one try-hard on either side that just wants to get the MVP so they get an extra $100,000. It's not a fun game. You watch it for the first quarter, you're like, okay, next channel, let's get away from that shit. That's garbage. You don't want to watch it. It's boring. The only thing you do want to watch are the skills challenges, the skills showdowns, if you will. Last year they had it's like a dunk contest, but it was a catch contest. You have the dodgeball, which is awesome, okay? Love the dodgeball. Got to keep that in there. They also had the 40-yard dash, who's the quickest. Michael Parsons ended up beating Tyreek Hill. Okay, that was pretty cool. Nick Chubb was in there, and don't really remember the other one. But Tyreek Hill didn't even fucking try. Don't think he even wanted to. But the Pro Bowl has been ass. Okay, plain and simple. That is what it has been. Okay, 3-letter word. ASS has been ass. Okay, nobody wants to watch. So there's changes that are potentially going to be coming to the Pro Bowl. Ian Rappaport reported on Twitter. He says the NFL is discussing the Pro Bowl week and ways to improve it, including possibly eliminating the traditional game. Okay, no more fucking Pro Bowl. And using that Sunday to showcase the players in it. Essentially, what are the alternatives? So they're thinking about taking that Pro Bowl game, fucking punting it out of the way, kicking it out of the water, saying fucking get out of it. Ooh. We gotta have more space. You're basically taking the fucking Pro Bowl and saying, see you later. And making Sunday a celebration of the players that were voted to the Pro Bowl. So what are some alternatives? Ian Rappaport goes on to say that, hey, the reality is the traditional Pro Bowl game is not what it should be. So, what else can be done? Would a flag football game with some of the NFL stars be better? Question mark. That's just one possible solution. I actually mentioned that on my show. I hope he was maybe he was watching. I don't know. But I mentioned that. Why not have a flag football game? Because before this year's Pro Bowl, they had the flag football championship. I believe the women's flag football championship being held. Absolutely electrifying. Okay, got to see some fucking dimes. I was like, wow, why not have this? Okay, we haven't got to see the NFL players play a flag football game before. Why not? Okay, it's like the NBA should have the NBA basketball players in the YMCA facility fucking playing their All-Star game instead of having an actual All-Star game. Because we get it, players don't want to get hurt. You can still pull hammies in flag football. So there's a lot of things. There's a lot of solutions that need to be figured out, and I think they will. Ultimately, I think they will. But Commissioner Roger Goodell says that the NFL will consider turning the Pro Bowl into a celebration of players rather than playing a game. So they're going to find some way, or find out some way to have it being more players, a celebration of players. Okay? That's easy, that's simple to know. Because I think viewership over the years have gone down. Whenever it comes to the Pro Bowl week, everyone's like, oh, we got a Sunday off. Cool. Go mow the lawn. I'll go take out the trash. Oh, actually, Pro Bowl's pretty late. Definitely wouldn't mow the lawn during Pro Bowl. Sorry about it. You'd probably go fucking blow snow or something. But nobody wants to watch it anymore. And they wanted to figure that out. They want to find a way or figure out a way to get their viewership back to where it should be. And it's hard to do that. But I think they found I think they'll figure it out. Because a celebration of players, I think, is even better. I think that's what we've kind of talked about. A lot of people have actually talked about, like Pat McAfee. I think he brought this up quite a while ago. So they'll figure it out. The Pro Bowl's ass, okay? Plain and simple. Garbage to watch. Nobody wants to watch it anymore. So they're going to figure out how to change it. Other things that the commissioner has come out and kind of said around his press conference. This tweet is from Ian Rappaport. He says, NFL Commissioner Roger Goodell at a press conference has asked for a timeline on the Deshaun Watson investigation. He says the NFL is nearing the end of the investigation, but he offers no timeline on the disciplinary officer issuing a ruling. Well, who fucks the disciplinary officer? Wouldn't it be Roger Goodell? That'd make a lot of sense. Okay, he's the commish. He should fucking figure it out. What, you got a separate guy that just decides who the fuck to suspend and how long to suspend him? No! It should be you. Jeez Louise. Unless it's the guy running the fucking investigation, but they are apparently nearing the end of the investigation. They met with Deshaun Watson last Friday in Texas to kind of dive into the whole situation. I believe they're coming to an end at some point, or they will come to an end at some point. As for the suspension, if there is a suspension, really unsure of when that probably will roll out. Maybe we'll see that next season. Maybe we'll see that after, or maybe in the next couple months before the season even gets started. So just know the Deshaun Watson situation slowly coming to an end. Back to the Indianapolis thing. So here's a real quick. Roger Goodell lauds Indy, saying that everyone is comfortable there. He says the main focus now is, can we improve the medical evaluations for the prospects? That's going to be the focus on making the physicals and evaluations more efficient. I guess they haven't really been that great, so that was just kind of what I wanted to touch on. I knew there was something around it. Didn't know how to word it right, so there it is. But, okay, moving forward. Washington Commanders have been in the forefront of a lot of shit as of late, right? Poop pipe bursting, okay? Railings falling out of their stadium, damn near ending careers. Jalen Hurts. Thank God he's not injured or didn't get hurt. You got fraud, okay, having 2 fucking books. When is this POS Dan Snyder going to get the fuck out of office, okay? When is this going to happen? Really unsure. And we kind of figured that there was going to be a vote that was going to be held to potentially get Dan Snyder out of ownership of the Washington Commanders. Needed 24 of them in order to do so. Never been done in the history of the NFL. So just take that in mind. Never been done. So at my sports update, Ari Mirov, a guy from Pro Football Focus, I believe, he went on to say, NFL Commissioner Roger Goodell says, hey, he's not aware of anything regarding the removal of Dan Snyder as owner of the Washington franchise. How the fuck aren't you aware? Literally every station, every TV show, everything out there that is sports related has mentioned Dan Snyder potentially being on his way out. Have a little fucking self-awareness. Have a little bit of awareness yourself, okay? There's no way he hasn't been aware of this. There's no way. Okay, right then and there. Bullshit. Means he's probably buddy-buddy with him. And then Goodell was asked if he senses frustration from other owners regarding Dan Snyder's tenure. Goodell gave a thought for a few seconds. And then answered, no, I don't. Let's wait and get the facts. What the hell are we doing? Like, what are we doing there? Like, do you not understand what the hell's going on? Or are you just completely blind to it because you and him are butt buddies and have a great fucking time together? Like, there's a reason a lot of people want you out of the NFL and want you out as commissioner, because you have no clue on how to run an NFL franchise or the NFL league in general. How do you not know about the situation? I guarantee you do. You just don't want to give your answers because you're scared of what might come of it. Put money on it. Dan Snyder will still be the owner of the Washington franchise. The fraud will get swept under the table, okay? And the pictures, the emails, and stuff like that, we'll never hear about again, like we have never heard about the Alvin Kamara situation since he was arrested at last year's Pro Bowl. But we'll never hear about that again. The railings, the poop pipes, we'll never hear about them again because, I bet you, the money that they use because of the fraud, that's what they purchased their new land for, so they get a new stadium to kind of cover it up, so it kind of goes hand in hand. Like, what the fuck? Like, how do you not know? So that is a bunch of bullshit to me. Okay, Roger Goodell knows some stuff about the scouting combine, the Pro Bowl. Good. That's what we need to hear. We need to hear that. But we also need to hear what the hell is going to happen with Dan Snyder. We need to get to the bottom of that because there's been way too much shit surrounding that franchise over the past year, at least, year and a half, 2 years, where it's like something needs to be done. Okay? Launch an investigation, not launch an email investigation. Launch a full-blown investigation because something is not right there, and if he's committing fraud, that right there affects the integrity of the game, makes the game that much worse. And when you have poop pipes bursting out of one of your 32 NFL franchises, That, again, affects the integrity of the game because who wants to travel to that fucking stadium knowing that a potential poop pipe might burst on top of them? Or what team would want to go into their dugout or into an alley or a tunnel knowing that there's a potential possibility that their career could be ended because a railing is going to fall, break off, and hit their knee? Okay, we get it. Shit breaks. But when time and time again stuff happens in that stadium, it needs to be addressed. It needs to be fixed ASAP. And we're not hearing lick from it. And the fact that he says, I haven't heard anything about it. And I don't think there's frustration from other owners because the other owners don't care, okay? Their franchises are better than Washington for a reason. You and Dan Snyder are buddies. That's very apparent because you won't say it. So just... be real. Just go out there and say what the actual fuck is going on because I would like to know, a lot of experts would like to know, a lot of shows would like to know as well so we can figure out what the hell is going on in Washington other than them getting a new stadium, and maybe that is being brought to our attention to kind of hide the rest of this whole situation. So that is my take on that. We need to figure it out. Just know Dan Snyder, in my opinion, scumbag POS, needs to get the hell out of the NFL, and Washington probably needs to move and relocate and figure their whole situation out because that is a franchise that's worth saving. That is a legendary franchise that is worth being in the NFL. So with that being said, hey, little rant there, a little fun time on the show. A lot of information coming off those league meetings, a lot of good information coming off the NFL. Finally, after being dead for quite some time. But with that being said, go enjoy the rest of your night. Be safe out there. The weather is phenomenal. The birds are chirping. The rabbits are jumping. Go mow your lawn. Whatever the case may be. Have a fire. Drink some beer. Okay, have a Bud Light. Okay, Nectar the God. Sorry, Bush. It is what it is. But we'll be back here tomorrow at 6 p.m. Central Time, like always, on Facebook and on YouTube. If you're on Facebook, hit that like, hit that share. If you're on YouTube, hit the subscribe. It would be much, much appreciated. And with that being said, have a great rest of your night. See you tomorrow. And you just got your fix with the Wicks. Deuces, folks.